I'm Cheryl from the Upper Sandusky Community Library. Thank you for joining me today for January, which we think about is soup month. I went through several different recipes in my Taste of Home cookbook that has soups only. It was hard to figure out which one to make because they all looked really, really good. So what we did, my husband and I tried this last week and we absolutely loved it. It's called tomato chicken rice soup. We're going to alter it a little bit with the recipe, and I will show you what the final product looks like because I froze some from last week. So the only thing we're not going to do in here is brown the flour, and I'll show you why later. So first of all, we are going to about have it except for the brown rice. Now the brown rice I cooked in the crock pot. That way it didn't run over on the stove, and it comes out just perfect. So there's our brown rice. So we're going to first of all cut up the celery, the green pepper, and the onion, and we're going to be putting it in here and just sauteing it until they're just nice and crispy. And I did is add that little bit of oil like it told us to in the recipe. And the nice thing about this soup is you can add or subtract more celery, less celery. If you don't like celery, you don't even have to even put it in, but it does get flavor. I love homemade soups. Just we'll put that a little bit higher here so it'll fry up. A nice thing about making your homemade soup also is you can add the seasonings as you want, and it's not loaded with salt like your canned soups are. So I make a lot of homemade soup, I make a lot of chili, but I've been experimenting with a lot of these new ones. Lentil soups, bean soups, just all sorts of different things. Okay, so we're adding our celery first. And we're going to add a little bit of onion. Now we're not putting the garlic in. I did put it in at home, but I didn't think it was really that necessary. So I'm going to throw a little bit of onion here. And green pepper. Now the reason I'm doing two different, normally at home I would do it in a Dutch oven on top of the stove, but since we're using these burners, I want to show you how they actually, since I'm actually frying them in here, and then we'll add it all together in there. But when it's shallow, it works a lot better. And green pepper. Okay, well that's frying up a little bit. And we're also going to be using most of the spices that are in here, but I'm not putting salt in. Obviously your tomatoes and your canned broth do have salt in them. You can use low salt tomatoes. You can also use low salt broth, which I think it does call for in your recipe. So if you want to see how this looks, it's almost done already. It didn't take long, but it sure smells good. So while that's on low, we are going to add, if you follow your recipe, but we're doing mostly halves except for the brown rice, okay? So we're adding a can of tomato soup. Stewed tomatoes. Stewed tomatoes. And a can of chicken broth. Okay. Since these are done, we're going to switch her out here and put that on here. Add it all together. I simmered mine at home probably 30 minutes maybe, but you can put it in longer if you want the flavors to really, really blend well. Okay. And we're going to add, now I decided to do parsley. Since I love my spices, we're going to put a little bit of parsley in. And it asks for oregano, so we're going to be putting our oregano in. I usually get most of my spices at the bulk food store and then just refill my containers up. And it says to put in thyme. I think it says 1 teaspoon, so we're going to put in about a teaspoon or so of that. Maybe a little bit less. Stir it up real good here. Now, it asks for chicken. So this is what I did. I had bought a rotisserie chicken, and it has a really good flavor in it. So I've been using some of that in there. So we're going to chop that up. But you can use canned chicken. You could also buy, your boneless chicken breasts, cook those up, and stick that in too. It's however you want to do it. Okay, we're going to turn that back on high. So this is what it looks like so far, but we don't want it that thin, obviously. Okay, so it says to brown your flour. What I've always done, this is what I was taught to do, was use flour, and put in a little bit of water. Okay, so this is going to be our thickener. And just stir it really, really nice. And you can kind of depend on your thickness how you want to do it. Okay, we're going to put our rice in next. And I'm putting a full 2 cups in. Even though I'm having the recipe, I'm putting 2 full cups in because we like the rice. It's really good for you, and it does make it a nice thick soup. Okay, so here's our flour and water. We're going to put just a little bit in just to thicken it up a little bit. Now this is what it looks like when you're completely finished with it. If you want it thinner, you can always add a little bit of extra water to it. The recipe does call for 2 cups of water. We just add a little bit to the consistency I want it. So this is what it looks like when you're finished, except it has not completely cooked and it hasn't thickened up completely. So you know what it looks like at the end when I have it here. So that's how you make the tomato chicken rice soup. Now also we consider January bread month when we've done the cookbook discussion group. If you like a really good recipe for a chocolate chip cherry banana bread, it's in our newsletter. It is absolutely wonderful. It's very moist. If you want to get rid of your overripe bananas, that's a way to use that up. So I hope you enjoyed watching me make my tomato chicken rice soup. Next month we'll have to do with cherries. I don't know if we'll do a dessert, we'll do a salad, but since it's President's Day in February, so we're going to be doing something with cherries. So thank you for joining me. I hope you'll really try this because it is absolutely delicious and healthy. And I hope to see you next month. Thank you for joining us.